And welcome back. Goodness me, where did that time go? Merry Christmas to you. Well, we did that bit, didn't we? Happy New Year then. Hope you had a wonderful break and managed to keep ahead of the markets or ahead of your bank accounts anyway. How many New Year's resolutions have we got? Want to see them put in the chat box. If we can, that would be good. What are they? Lose more weight. Don't drink as no. Stop smoking, maybe. If you smoke, keep your journal. Yeah, I've got a few actually. They're more New Year's resignations from me than they are resolutions. It's kind of, let's say we won't do that, or we won't do that again, whatever it is. Anyway, I hope you're having a wonderful new year thus far in these incredibly difficult times that we're going through. I've got the wrong background here, but let's see if I can fix that up. That could be better. How do I stop that? I don't. You just get out of there. Okay, that's better. So as I was saying, and I was talking nonsense really, wasn't I, at the end of the day? There would be New Year's resignations, of course. Yes, I'm not going to do that ever again, or not going to do this, or okay, I give up already. Have you already done that? I don't know. Anyway, I sincerely hope, g'day Paul P, Happy New Year to you too as well. I sincerely hope that that the holiday period has treated you well, and it's wonderful to have you back in the room. Ash will be joining me shortly, of course. A little bit of a change to Mondays in terms of the format. The format will be pretty normal for the first 5 or 10 minutes. You'll have me, and I'll go and give you some pound versus US dollar breakout trades if they're there, if I feel they're there, and we can go from there. George will be joining us shortly after as well, shortly after the top of the hour, maybe around about 10, quarter past. He will be going through his stuff. And of course, George is now doing a whole lot of things. We'll talk to him a bit later. He's doing a whole lot more this year in terms of live trading in front of you guys. G'day, John. Happy New Year, mate. So that'll be interesting. Have a chat to George a little bit later. Of course, this show is all about you guys, not about us. It's about what's on your mind. It's about asking questions. It's about having a chat. It's about sharing our opinions on what the market's doing, or what you think the market should be doing or could be doing. Hello, Lewis. So yeah, feel free to have a chat. Stick your hand up. You can join us in the room online. Just stick your hand up and say, hey, I'd like to talk, or I want to show you something. You've got a chart here. What's your opinion? That's what we're here for. We're here to share things. We're not here to do nothing. I'm getting a whole stack of messages. I wonder if that's Ash. I just better check, guys. Hang on 2 seconds. Amuse yourselves, as they say. Yes, there is something there. No, we're all good. We are all good. Bingo. That's Ash trying to get in the room. I think bingo means he's just about here. Okay, so very quickly, I'll repeat all of those things a few times. If you're here for the first time, in particular, welcome to you. It's wonderful to have you on board. Yes, we do trade. We do trade live in here. I think I've shared the wrong screen, have I? No, it looks okay. Yes, we do trade, as I said. And if there are trades here, if we take a trade, you'll see it. No question about that. Now let's start with this one, pound versus the US dollar as we speak. Wow. What's this hourly chart? There's a little trade in there. Double top, first lower high. Let me see if it's tradable. You're going to trade straight into that thing. That's the problem. But the setup's not too bad. It's too early to be rushing into this. I'm not going to trade the breakout, mind you. And let's go through that first. Let's do that. It's the first candle of London session. And my mantra, my absolute rule is don't trade the first candle of London session on my particular strategy. You can trade it on whatever you like, but Euro pound on the technical certainly will. Upcoming, Lewis, because I'll get through this fairly quickly. I do see this as a trade, as a setup, right? So we've got a double top here, and we've got a potential low high, and it's a green bodied candle. So my instinct immediately says I've got to trade that down to the daily pivot. But then I've got to think about that, because we don't simply trade indiscriminately. And frankly, I haven't seen a chart apart from maybe 2 hours over the entire break. And I have no idea what's going on from a fundamental perspective. So I just need to sit on that and wait. And I don't trade the first candle of London session for my strategy as well. So let's just ease back and recognize that the setup is there. But if it does pan out, we can pick it up a little bit later. Happy New Year to me trading buddy. Here he is. G'day, Ash.
Happy New Year, mate. Yeah. It's going to be a quiet one, I think, for today, but we
today?
can. What's that? Sorry.
For today, I got absolute shiploads of stuff.
Oh well, that's because it's rangy.
that could do it. Yes.
So yeah, I think you'll probably be in good shape.
Are you well? How was your break?
Yeah. Oh, it's great, man. Honestly, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed it. Absolutely brilliant.
So you don't want to be back, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you got to start at some point, haven't you? And you know, got to kick it in eventually. I don't mind. You know, to be honest, I have been trading over the period anyway, because there's been some really lovely opportunities over Christmas, and there often is, but there was, because of the low liquidity, it meant some fantastic moves were going on, you know, particularly overseas in the Nasdaq, and you know, the one I was focusing on, obviously before we left for the break, I was saying Nasdaq short and silver long, and the Nasdaq played out really well. Silver's still holding on, and you know, I'm still in trades on silver, which we can get to maybe after we speak to George, but generally speaking, I did have a break as well. So what I ended up doing was changing my trading style, which is, I think, something that you've been doing over a course of the last couple of years, where rather than looking at trades that are shorter term, when you don't have the time, flip and look for trades that are more of a put the position on and hold it. So that's what I did. I just put positions on and held them, and then came back, you know, towards the end of each session and saw whether it was worth taking profit or not. And it worked out really well.
Nice.
So
I only took one trade. My entire break, I took one trade, and that was only a few days ago. It worked
was
out.
that the Aussie?
Yeah.
And but has that worked out? It was yeah, interesting stuff, mate. Do you know what? Well, I looked at the COT data, obviously, as I always do at the start of the week, and it was difficult to actually find a champion for the week. The dollar is under a lot of pressure, but seasonally, it's kind of in a bit of a bullish period, and this is some of the issue, is that there's a lack of confluence. Just as we have areas of confluence on the chart, there's almost this kind of fundamental confluence thing going on as well. And we all know what's going on with the dollar. We all know that that those Fed minutes suggesting that interest rate hikes would probably accelerate, strengthen the dollar. But at some point, you have to say, well, the news will be priced in. You know, that the expectation will be priced in. And I think there's quite a lot of people out there that are still concerned with Omicron, and they're concerned with the Fed potentially choking the economy, probably too much, with too much of speedy hawkish stance, and then having to reverse on it. So that kind of means that when the dollar gets to a high point after the news has been released, then and effectively priced into it to a degree, then there's this other question: will they be able to follow through? And if they can't follow through, then we should see some weakness again. I think overall, you know, we should be looking at long dollar, but I think over the short term, then a little bit of downside. I think it's you know, achievable and probable in my opinion. But as I say, mate, I'll come to it I'll come to it later. What time's George due in?
In about 10 minutes.
Oh,
He'll be
okay.
in.
Okay.
So
I mean,
that's all good.
okay. Have you been through your charts yet, or how are you fixed?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm just having a look at the dollar index there now. It's interesting. Very interesting. It's at a support level, but it's also at a resistance level, and big reversal bar there for the week last week. That's another question. How relevant and how much can we read into last week or even the last month of trading? It's an interesting question. It generally takes me a little while to sort that out.
Well, do you know, I think that is very relevant because we're talking about low liquidity trading, aren't we? And we're talking about moves that will be over accentuated. So yeah, I think that's very relevant. And also, you know, I mean, just so everybody's kind of aware, I'm looking at a short on the Ftse this morning, and the price on the futures is going to be around about 10 pips above where we are now. So if that happens, let's see if we can take the trade, and we will then come and make a judgment call on what we're going to do with the trade altogether.
Okay, so do you want me to go through my stuff?
Yeah, let's do that, mate. Let's do that.
I
mean, yeah, the Ftse can wait, I think, until after George is finished. If the trade shapes up,
just whistle. Otherwise,
I'll holler it out. Yeah.
Yep. I'm looking at the dollar index first, and this is the weekly chart. And we have gone through this resistance level, but we've come back underneath it. It's a little bit of a cloud of a price, as it always is. So there's the level there, there's the level there. It's in here somewhere. So it's very, very inconclusive as far as I'm concerned at the moment. But what I do see is the potential end of this sequence. And what I mean by that, I'm a stickler for symmetry. And what you generally see in a reversal on the left side will generally pan out to a degree on the right side of that reversal. So you can see the symmetry involved here. My thought process is, okay, once we got to this level here, we saw a little bit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of consolidation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 week consolidation has also taken place over here. Now, had we not gone below this line, then I would be thinking bounce and maybe get back up to here. But I've got this sneaking feeling that this sequence is actually has played out and it's over, and we're going into a new sequence. That reversal bar last week, and that's why I kind of asked the question, and I'm asking the question myself more than anything. Is that relevant? Is that candle relevant? Are the last 3 weeks of trading relevant? You can't say they're not there. They're there most certainly. But what will the market think of that when the traders come back to work? That's what I really don't know at this point in time. Yeah. So everything needs to be taken with caution, in my humble opinion. And that doesn't mean don't trade it. It simply means be just careful with your entries. You know, make sure the entries are good. And if they're at all risky, then I'd stay out, or low risk. Simple as that. So it's not a don't trade by any stretch for me. I think there's probably quite a few opportunities still to have for the month of January, and I see quite a lot of them actually. Firstly, I'll go through the chart that Lewis wanted me to have a look at. Euro pound. Now, Euro pound is really interesting in many respects, not least of which is still the fundamental cloud, I suppose, that hangs over Brexit. Now, when I look at technicals, I can see this in a descending channel, no question. I can also see it as a potential support level. If I put that, well, that's not horizontal, that's vertical. That's a bit like me on New Year's Eve. Okay. If we suppose that that is the level there, and we can probably confirm that by going back, it looks strong to me, that level that we're currently at. So we're at the bottom of that range. I call channels a range. But we're also, if you go to the daily chart, in a range. So we've got a little bit of turmoil going on here. But this supports, in my humble opinion, what I've just seen. And what I've just seen is the potential for this to go back in a long position, going back to here. So it may be that we've got a little bit further to go, and that's fine if we're aware of it. So the way I would play this on euro pound is to wait for a re-entry back into that range, if on a short time frame, a 4-hourly time frame, and look to trade it back to the top of the range, get some profit in the bank, and then if it goes, obviously leave something open for that. I think that would be a good way to play that. I don't know that I can be a fan of a bear position or a short position at this point until this double bottom here has been taken out. So I'd be looking for this to be a false break of that that descending channel. And if we do get that, as I said, if you want to tackle it on a 4-hour chart, happy days. You can get in early and take some profit, get safe, and then let it rip, build some positions if you want on the way. So that would be my take on euro pound at the moment. How does that match up from a fundamental perspective, mate?
Well, look, you're saying long on the euro pound.
I am, yes.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it could match up quite well. And the reason is, even though the fundamentals are pretty weak for Europe in many respects, I think that while inflation is starting to really rip through the European economy, then there will be an expectation that the ECB will probably have to move and have to do something more than they are doing. And this is what it's going to come down to. The fundamentals are almost, they've almost become a side issue. You know, how strong, when we look at fundamentals, we're looking at how strong is each economy. And then really after that, it's how strong is each economy, and what will be the reaction of the central bank in reaction to the data. And I wouldn't say that the pound, the UK is particularly strong, but now it's coming down to how significant is inflation, and do they have the room to do something about inflation? And I think the view is in Europe, they probably don't have the room, and that's purely because of what Christine Lagarde's rhetoric has been for such a long time. But I think it's getting to a point where it's just ripping up the rule book in some respects, because if they don't react on it,
I don't think they're the only central bank that's got that issue, of course.
No, exactly. And the Fed have already said that they're going to do something about it. So that's why we've seen the dollar strengthen. You know, that's why expectations with the dollar is strengthened. Europe has not had that expectation because Christine Lagarde is basically saying we're staying where we are. But she might not have a choice. And I think that there's going to, certainly in the short term, there's going to be a few people that are going to be there going, she can't sit like this. You know, that she hasn't got the freedom of choice in many respects, and we've seen that the pound has strengthened quite significantly against the euro over the last few months, and it's at a support level. And the question is, does this support level hold? In my opinion, in the short term, I think it probably will, because there is a stacking effect up with Europe, where they are not sort of coming out and saying the same thing, but I think there's an expectation that they will have to.
Okay, so pretty much all on the same page.
Yeah, I like that trade, mate. I like that trade.
Okay, speaking of pages, it's time to page George into the room. Oh dear, that's a terrible segue, but I'll have to do it. Paging George. George to the front of the room, please. Hello, buddy. Nice to see your smiling face. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you guys. Happy New Year, Ash. How are you guys doing?
Oh, very good, mate. Thank you very much. I had a lovely break.
Mate, although I'm down under, I feel like I'm on top of the world,
mate. Yeah, just had a really good break, George. Did you enjoy yours?
It really was. It was fantastic. You know,
brilliant.
We went away on the 22nd. My wife had recovered out of COVID.
Oh, brilliant.
And we still managed to do the things we planned to do. Went out into the bush, and just really, it was a fantastic time. And this weekend it always ends with the anniversary weekend, right? It happened to be on a Saturday, so I'm completely.
Are your wedding anniversary?
A wedding anniversary, yes.
Oh, congratulations, buddy.
So that was Saturday. Beautiful dinner on Sunday night, and this is the first time I've opened my laptop in
Oh, that's
almost
good.
2.5 weeks.
Excellent.
So I'm as rusty as they come, you know, and just going through all the beginning of year motions in my mind.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
I can
let's talk about that,
Yeah,
because it is for those who aren't seasoned traders in the room. I think it's a very, very good point to just spend a few moments saying, like, okay, how do you approach the beginning of the year? Okay, you just said you've had probably 3 weeks away from your charts. How do you approach this?
Yeah. So the first thing that I do, well, you know, it's kind of all multi-layered, but if I want to break it up, you know, I'm always asking myself if I'm very clear about my strategies, and saying that the one thing I always try and do as each year begins is to see if I'm trading less strategies but better, if that makes sense. In other words, what have I learned out of last year? Have I refined my strategy? The less, the better. So when I began last year, I was looking at 3 broad things. This is last year into 21, reversals into trends. That's something that I love to trade. You know, lower probabilities but higher returns. If you know what I mean, you get 40% chance of success, but if you pick up a winner, I mean, it's really going to run very well. And then I have my pullbacks. Pullback after a breakout. I don't jump into a breakout unless I'm caught in a breakout. So if I've caught it well at the reversal stage and it gets into a breakout, then I'm staying in. But I don't wait for a breakout and trade a breakout. So if I've missed that reversal part, for whatever reason, I'm not in the market, or I got stopped out, I hesitated, and I see the breakout, then I gotta wait for the pullback to the EMA and start trading those pullbacks. The one thing I did last year, which I'm very happy with, I used to always trade pullbacks to the 20 EMA, but after just looking at tons of charts, I started putting the 10 EMA in and realized I can trade off the pullback to the 10 EMA because that's the stronger part of the breakout. So that's like one thing I did with my strategy. So going into this year, I put the 20 EMA when I'm talking to guys and discussing charts, but for my own trading, it's just the 10 EMA. And I used to, last year I traded trading ranges, you know, just waiting for that second entry into trading ranges. But I haven't had a look in early December as we were getting to the shutdown at my results. I made money, but I didn't make a lot of money on trading ranges. I didn't trade a lot of them because I'm always very cautious. But when I did, you know, I wasn't making a ton of money. So I've dropped them completely from this year. Now talking about how I'm going into the year, I'm only looking at those trying to catch that reversal into a trend. Now so I'm looking at catching the reversal into a trend off the daily chart, and then I go, of course, and take it off the 5-minute time frame. So even if I get a couple of trend days on the daily, I mean that's a huge move on the 5 minutes. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. And of course, pullbacks to the 10 EMA off the 5-minute time frame. So in my mind, just thinking through, that's all I'm going to focus on in terms of price action setups or strategies or whatever you want to call it. Then the other thing I'm always asking myself, how good was I with money management last year? Because we can become pretty good at trading our setups. And if you're not as good at money management, you're going to be making money, but you're making 1%, 2%, 3%. You're not going to be making the big, massive winners. And I would rather become good at my money management, which means I can execute 1% or 2%, and the market moves in my way on, let's talk of those reversals into trades. At some point, I've got to be confident I've banked enough money that I'm prepared to put in 3% at this particular stage. Because if I lose that in the couple of days I'm trading, maybe I'm back at break even or I'm back at 1%. But you've got to know what you're doing. And if it starts to move more and more in a direction, you've got to get into that territory where you're comfortable to say, there is a clear setup. If I was walking into the market today, I'll be taking that at 1 or 2%. But I've banked all this money over 2 days. Why can't I put in a bigger risk percentage?
Sorry to cut you off, George. There's a trade long on the Ftse if anybody's interested in taking it.
Okay, put it up for us. Yeah.
Let's have a look. Let me bring up my pivots here if I can bring up pivot. Oh, let's not worry about that now. Hold on. Now, I was looking at the shorts, but I've flipped. So I flipped it here. So little long on the Ftse, and it may well drop a little bit further now. The big thing, as is the case for me, is that I don't use leverage, so I'm not really worried if it drops down a little bit further. I'll be adding in here as well. I don't see huge weakness today, and I'm only after a little grab, so I'm really just after a kind of 10-pip move, maybe to the upside there. So looks like there's just a little bit of support coming in, but what you'll really see is, let's see if I can do this here. Here we go. This is the significant aspect. We got the pivots here. So really, I don't think there's enough weakness to drive this market down. Is my point here. Now I was looking for the short, and if it had come up to this point here, I would have taken the short, and maybe if it pops up, I might take it later on. But I only really need one trade a day, so I'm going to be looking to aim for at least 10 pips. Now I'm what, 17. Yeah, that will take me up there. So really just to the top of this bar, to the top of the previous bar. Now you guys are looking on the UK 100. So let's have a quick look at that. What the UK 100 would look like. So the UK 100, if you were to take the same trade, you're probably looking at 74.97 for your take profit area, and then seeing if it clears out for the day. Now, if I was trading this to buy back in again, then I'll be taking another position down at this point here, which is going to be 74.64. So if this first one doesn't close down, I'll add here, and then I'll probably aggregate it up just so I'm making my 10 pips between the two, is the idea here. So yeah, sorry to interrupt you, George, but yeah, that's the idea, is that that there's a trade just up to that level there.
Excellent. May just pop up your daily chart on that.
Sure. Let me do it clean so it's a bit easier to see.
I haven't looked at any chart, so I'm just want to see.
There's the daily.
Right. Okay. So what I'm trying to explain is, just if you look at just that reversal, if you want to call it, failed breakout above the trading range, those last 4 or 5 candles. Okay. So what I want to be doing is seeing these things setting up on the daily time frame, and then be able to go down to a lower time frame, take the trade off the lower time frame, and see if we get a couple of bear candles, if you like, on the daily time frame. That would be a good enough trend for me to have jumped onto as it formed out of that reversal, that failed breakout. So that's the kind of thing I'm working through in my mind, that if I become very good at what I do,
yeah,
and I'd rather drop my decision to drop trading ranges. It was not unprofitable. I made money out of it, but I realized that if I focused more of my time on finding these potential reversals and then trading those, I can make a lot more money than I'd ever make out of trading ranges. So that's one.
I'm just going to stop sharing briefly, guys, because I need to manage my other account, and it's not an MT4 account. It's just got like numbers on it. So I'm just going to stop sharing, and then and we continue the conversation. Sorry.
Okay. Shall I carry on?
You can carry on, mate. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah. Then money management is really going beyond, the typical thing we all get trained at. Risk 1%, risk 2%, split it into 3, manage it, get your 1, 2, 3% out. Because this is our business. We've got to make big returns out of it. So that's something I've really worked hard at in the past year. I don't talk a lot about it in my shows, except make reference to it, because you can do that with your own funds. You can't do that if you're managing someone else's funds. Got to make a 1%, 2%, and leave it at that. Then the other thing, of course, is in terms of prepping myself, is what's happening in here, the psychology part, and that for me, everything else can be right, but if I haven't sorted myself out inside, you can easily lose money, even though you jump into good trades and start to mess them around. So I'm always reflecting, writing down what's going on. Am I ready to trade? And am I focused enough? If I start to lose, am I able to manage my trades, or am I allowing myself to get emotionally involved? We've kind of, I think we all know what's trader psychology is, but it actually comes down to what's happening between me and the screen and the market. Am I coming to the market to make money or to take money out, whatever the case may be. So that's what's going on. Then in terms of the actual charts, the one thing I'm going to be doing over the next few days is now going into each of the markets that I look at and setting in my key levels of resistance and support. Last year's high, last year's low, 50% pullback, midpoint of the range for last year. Any other levels that I need to watch out, which are still on the charts, and really just cleaning up the charts and then getting ready to trade. So it's this week, which in spite of what I may see as tempted, I'm not going to be taking any trades until I'm pretty settled in the market.
I think that's pretty cool.
I hope it makes sense.
No, I think that's pretty cool, because as traders, we don't afford ourselves time out. I mean, maybe weekends, but then weekends are probably spent with family. Yeah. So I think it's important to take that Christmas break, or whenever you can get a break in, to actually reflect, exactly as you just said, reflect on yourself, reflect on whether you have been successful over the year. If not, why not? And if you can't go back and answer that question, then you need to change your method of recording your trades or recording your record, right? Because you should be able to answer that question. And I guess for most of us, that means keeping a pretty strict journal. But now's the time to reset. And if you haven't done that over the Christmas break, there's still time. You don't have to just jump into trading because the markets are open again.
Yeah.
Take that time and do pretty much exactly as George has just said. So no trades from you, buddy?
Nothing for
fine.
me. Yeah. And on Wednesday, all I'll be doing is showing the guys the levels of support, resistance, key things I'll be looking at.
That was my next question. You changed your modus operandi in terms of presenting your material to us. Please explain what new have you got coming up for us this year?
So I think the newest thing that I'm going to be sharing, and I'll always have a caveat that you can really only do this with your own money, is just sharing some insights on money management. Because I talk to a lot of guys that I assist with trading, and guys who get good at trading in the, let's call it the traditional sense. They know how to make their 1%, 2%, 3%. They make more than the banks. But just by a little bit of tweaking in terms of understanding how to use that equity when the market is moving in your direction, they can make a lot more. So that's something that I'll focus on. Then I'm really also going to be sharing, or I think I've always shared a lot more, but because now I'm really down to 2 focused setups or strategies, I think guys who follow will get a good sense of trying to find these turning points into trends, or if you've missed that, taking those pullbacks while the market is still has momentum in our favor. So the goal is, hopefully, if you've got $100, by the time the year ends and we're talking about another break, you can say, hey, I listened to this guy and I've now made a big chunk of my $100 of equity. Then you can use that whichever way you want to with your own money.
Sorry, you great explanation as to what you're going to do. Aren't we going to see more of you this year?
So I definitely will be with you guys on this show for the brief moment that I have just talked about Wednesday. I'm definitely on Wednesdays. Then, coming to February, I'm going to be in the markets on Wednesdays, full day, starting Asian session right up to the US session. So, but not the full 24 hours. I'll have four sessions of 2 hours each way. I'll be live, taking trades, etc. Now, I'm still working out the modalities of that with PB, to see how that can dovetail off the platform. But it's definitely happening. So for guys who either you're working or you've got the time, you'll be able to catch me for a couple of hours in any one of the sessions. It will be, the first 2 hours of the day, opening of the London session, or first 2 hours of that, first 2 hours of the US session that overlap, in the last 2 hours of the day. That's on Wednesdays. I'm going to be doing that on Wednesdays.
Awesome, buddy. You'll need good sleep on Tuesday evening, then, I would imagine.
And not wake up on Thursday.
Yeah, fair enough. Mate, thank you so much, as always, for being here. Thanks for being part of Trading Buddies for the next 12 months, at least, anyway. We'll see how that pans out. If we're all fortunate enough to get through the year, who knows what's around the corner, really.
No, it's making most of it as you go along.
Mate, thanks a lot. We'll catch you next week, eh?
Yes, for sure. Thanks, Ash. We'll catch up, guys.
See you soon, George. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Do we need to expand on your trade, mate? Or will I
let's
go
do
on
that.
this? Yep, let's do that.
Yeah, let's quickly do that, and let's talk about what we got for the week as well. What we got coming up for the week. So, firstly, let's talk about the trade. So the plan here is to see if there's just a little bit out of it. So I managed to kind of get it up. So I'm not looking for a lot here, but just a little bump to the upside. If this drops down to here, then I'll be buying in again. Now, the thing about if it breaks down, then what we've got is a head and shoulders pattern. So it could be that we end up accepting that this is looking a bit too ominous. Now, the markets are relatively negative. There's no two ways about that. But we're talking about a short-term trade here. And I guess my point of view is that we are probably not heading for a big move lower today. I mean, that's just my point of view. I think from what I saw from the seasonality and the COT data, markets are pretty choppy this week. So the buy side, I think, is still on, and particularly on the Ftse, because if we think about what may be coming down the road, and we're talking about interest rate hikes, good for banks. Ftse's made up of banks. Energy costs rising. Again, good for oil. Ftse's made up of oil stock. So I don't think the Ftse is necessarily is in as bad a shape as the likes of the Nasdaq, as an example. I think the Nasdaq has got some room still to come to the downside. So this is why, I'm quite happy to go with it. Now, if we have a look at the fundamentals, now if it does break down here, incidentally, then this is not the area to continue to trade long. So after that, then again, I'll probably still be looking for upside to continue somewhat, but it might need to drop down relatively far before I get back in again, get back into the long, and I'll probably flip positions at this point to take a little short on the table. But my bias is still for a little push up, mate. I think we stay within a range. would be my take on it right now. So I'm quite happy to trade at the bottom of the range as well. Now let's have a look at the fundamentals and what we've got. And this is really this week. So nothing today at all. Employment rate from the United States, GDP estimate from the United Kingdom, not worth discussing at all, really. Then we get into some. We get into some bits and pieces tomorrow. I guess retail sales from Australia could be of interest. Is this going to be interesting? I wouldn't have thought so. You know, what else is he going to say? You know, we've seen the Fed minutes and they're very, very hawkish. Is he going to say anything that is going to compound that? I wouldn't think that could be the case. There was enough fear after the Fed minutes to suggest that if anything, he's going to just confirm what was already said. But it does start
interesting though, that one, isn't it? Because if you go back maybe 2 Fed statements ago, or was it one? I can't remember, before the last one, where he said one thing, and then in the next address, kind of played that down really. I can't remember what the exact circumstances were, but he played that statement down because the market reacted ridiculously, violently against or for whatever he said. I can't remember the circumstances, and he had to temper that and said, "Whoa, settle down."
Yeah. Well, do you know what I think is interesting with that one, mate? Is that from my memory, it was between him getting re-elected. The first one was before he was elected. The second one was he got re-elected, and it was almost like shackles are off. Now I can be hyper hawkish. You know, it's difficult to know what goes on behind the scenes. You know, and what people's motivations are for specific statements. But I think that Jerome Powell's played this one pretty cleverly to get himself his job back. So. Whether that's true, it's open to discussion. But I do think that now we're seeing the real Jerome Powell. Now we're going to see the real policy, and CPI data and all this stuff. Does it compound what could potentially be coming? But as I say, what they've said was tapering will probably be quicker, which means the interest rate hike will be quicker, which we're looking at March. Is he going to come out tomorrow and say, actually, I think it's going to be February? Probably not. You know, if anything, he's likely to say, look, it's probably going to be March, but it might not be. And then we see a little bit of upside from the market. But it's difficult. We won't know what's being said. But my suspicion would be he won't compound what's already been stated.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether these things start to matter in the United States, CPI and core CPI. In fact, if it's a lower number, then it matters. Because that takes the shackles off a little bit. That takes the pressure off a little bit. So we are watching CPI numbers. We are watching PPI numbers as well, and core PPI numbers. The unemployment numbers last Friday were a little bit underwhelming. So all these things will start to kind of add to the picture of whether they might actually be able to hold off from tapering or not. I think everybody now expects it to happen. But will these numbers confirm that it's going to happen, or will they actually give the Fed a little bit of breathing space? So interesting week, mate. Interesting week. But we are now looking in the opposite direction. Would be my take on it all. You know,
I think so. Right?
With news. Oh, I might get my might be able to get my second Ftse trade on here as well, which I'm going to do real quick. There we go. Right, so I've got my 2 Ftse trades on. I'm just going to manage the other account again, so I'm just going to make sure I'm off screen, so it's not being seen. There we go. Right, we are back. We can take that back, and then
I'm good to go when you're ready.
Then we can talk about this. Yeah, so I'm basically just buying back in again. You know, I'm buying back in again on this support line that I see here. It might be a little bit lower actually, maybe there. Yeah, just buying back in again on the support line, and the aggregate here is around about 20. So really, all I now need to do is get back to this point here, because 10 up makes it a clear trade, and then getting back to that point there will make it all on need. So I can now move this one down to the first, taking this one off at break even, and this one I'll allow this one to make the money. If it drops again, it's time to get out. You know, I want to see a close down here. I don't care about a little spike, but if it drops again, then it's time to get out. But that's my stance right now, mate. That's the way I'm playing it.
Cool. Okay, analysis time.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, I've got a truckload of stuff, and I don't think I'll be too far before I've got some trades happening. I'll go through this Aussie thing that I messaged you about the other day, and you know, the monthly chart was kind of screaming at me, wow, this is a pretty clear false break at a strong resistance level of this. This is a monthly chart, right? I'm looking at. That's a monthly trend line that's been broken, hit resistance, got back underneath it, retested it. And I felt
Can I just jump in for a second?
Hello, mate.
Mate. Hey, mate, how you doing? Mate,
Going
recording
well.
for this show is paused. Do you mean for it to be paused?
No.
It means that there'll be no recording of everything to date. So you're the host, not me. Can you start the recording again?
I didn't know I was the host, actually.
Mate, it's not even the end of the world. It's because this is being streamed to YouTube. There you go. It's being streamed to YouTube, mate. So people got to watch the recording on YouTube or Facebook, but it's nice to have recorded as well. I'll leave it to you, bud.
Cheers, mate. So getting back to where I was, you know, this to me is a pretty clear false break, and it tried to get back above it again and failed again, and it's retested that level again. So I felt that this was a pretty easy short here. I'm not talking long term, mind you, because it'll bounce off here and find support at some stage. And I don't think that support's that far away. It's, you know, it's probably in this area here. So I don't think I'm in this long term. But I did see that opportunity. Now it's got back the other way. It's really interesting. But I just wanted to show you the beautiful setup that we actually saw. And anybody who's been with me for a fair while will understand that this little pattern here is super good. It's called Three Little Indians. So it's false break, false break, false break. And when it breaks for the third time, I expect the range. Well, what I mean by false break. So I should explain that a little bit further because some of you may not be on top of that. So we've got a range in here, right? And that range has been false break, false break, false break. Now, as soon as I see that, I'm thinking this is going to break the range to the downside. Now, it often happens that it does that and then shoots straight back up to the other side as it did. And then it will either go long, and I don't know at that point what it's going to do until it gives me a signal, or it goes short again as it did. But it set up absolutely perfectly, and I just happened to be in front of the charts at the time when this was the only trade I took over the holiday period. It came down back inside the range and then retested the top of it at the daily pivot with a reversal bar. Well, in my mind, a reversal bar, green candle. So the entry's there. I took 2 lots of profit. There was my target monthly pivot. Then it shot back up and gave me exactly the same thing again. Double top, lower high. And I didn't get that trade because I wasn't in front of the charts at the time. But that was the best trade of all, that one there on Aussie dollar. Right now, I'm not convinced because we're in pivot land. We're oscillating between the pivots. And I don't know what happens next, frankly. I'll have to wait until the chart tells me what happens next or what's about to happen next. There's a few things going on. That's one of them. So price back to here, if it rejects that level, then I'm thinking more downside. But if it gets back above that level, I'm thinking we're probably off to the races on Aussie versus US dollar. So we're at a crucial level, an inflection point at this moment. So back into here on bullish. But at this point, I'm neutral to bearish on Aussie US dollar. Now I'll go quickly to the game changer bars for the week. There's only 3 of them. Aussie Yen is one, and it's suggesting downside. Look, I'm not convinced about this one, to be fair. Yes, we've got a double top. Yes, we've had exactly the same thing. False break, false break, false break, smash down. So 3 little Indians worked again, but it's then put in a new high and now a higher low based on this low. Not sure what happens next. That candle is suggesting to me that we're going to go short, but how far? Monthly pivot looks to be a problem. So I don't think I'd be looking to go through that monthly pivot area. So I don't think that's a good trade on the weekly chart. Aussie Kiwi, not dissimilar, but in a completely different position. I mean, dissimilar in terms of the candle, but we're in a completely different position coming off the bottom here. So higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. Again, we've got the monthly pivot sitting here. Is this a good trade to take? I don't think it's a good reward to risk, in my humble opinion. But it's interesting if we don't take out that high. And the reason I say that, and that's going to be, we're a week away, obviously. So you'd be kind of trusting that we're going to get a lower high in here, trade it down to the monthly pivot. I can go with that. That kind of works for me. But is it compelling? I don't think so. I'll be just waiting to see how that pans out in the new week or the week ahead. So it's not really a thing for me. Euro pound we have discussed. Euro dollar was the other one. And it's looking to be a big reversal bar to the upside. So, but what are we coming off? Nothing really. Okay, I can see that hammerish looking bar there. Then we've gone into consolidation, tried to break out, hit resistance, came back up. Now we're trying again. Just trying to have another crack at that on the weekly chart. It is a game changer bar. Would I like to trade long at that point? I don't think so. Rather, I see a range in here. But what I do see, and if I go wider on this chart, you will see it very, very clearly. And it does mean we're at an inflection point. Those of you who can't see that clearly, I'll point it out for you. It is a very, very considerable ascending triangle. Now, some people take note of triangles, some people don't. That's all good. I do. Why? Because it's doing exactly the same as any range does. Top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom, back to the top. So we're at an inflection point here as well. Monthly pivot's interesting, been rejected once. I have got no idea which way this is going to break out. No idea. My gut feeling, and we're on a daily chart here, tells me that we're going long. It's a dangerous trade because here's your first level of resistance, certainly the monthly pivot. It's a great slingshot candle pattern sitting right there as well. It is an ascending triangle suggesting that we're going long. Would I trade that? No, because it's just too dangerous. It's been rejected, 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 rejected. Why now? Why now is it going through there? George spoke about this earlier. If you are interested in trading reversals, then the best way to trade this is not from here until it breaks and comes back and retests that level. Or you can trade it as a false break of the support level, but not from here. Or sorry, you can do whatever you like, but I can't do that. I can't trade that there. I have to wait for it to pull back. Guess what it's doing at the moment? It's doing exactly that. So I think because we are at an inflection point, I have to pay attention to this cross, euro dollar. I'll wait for the break and retest if I'm to trade it long, or I'll find something on a smaller time frame. Let's point that out. That's pretty obvious as well to me, what we need to wait for. So let's go down to our 4-hour chart where we are now getting, and I said this before on another cross, I can't remember what it was, maybe euro pound, can't remember. We're now pivot bound, right? I can't do anything until this is clear because the likelihood is that we're going to spend a little bit of time in here. I don't know if that could be hours, it could be days, but I don't know. I'd have to see a false break of resistance, of support rather, if I'm to trade this long. where that happens, most likely for my style of trading, that would probably happen down here. So if price got down to here, hit some support back above there and retested it from above, then I could look to trade it long. That is my bias based on what I'm seeing, but anything could happen. If I'm to think short, as I'm absolutely apt to do, because it's the top of a range, then I've got to wait for a lower high off a reversal pattern. I don't really see a reversal pattern at this point in time. So until I get a double top or something like that, I'm in no man's land, so I can't trade that. But it is definitely on my watch list because it's at an inflection point. I've only got a couple more. Pound Aussie's one. Pound Aussie.
Mate, just before you do that, do you mind if I quickly give you an update?
Of course not.
Okay, fantastic. All right, here we go. Let's just update this trade here because to uptrade the management here. So what you'll see is that what I've done here is move my take profit just under the pivot. Now, at the minute, we're slightly in profit as it goes.
Currently, I've got your trade to go screen.
Okay. Trade. Yeah, you don't want that one. What you want is that one. I'm about to flip it. There we go. So what we've got here is a trade which is probably about break even now. So what I've done is I've moved my take profit on both of these. So this one will be a slight loss, but you can see that the gap between this point and this point is larger than the gap between this point and this point. Now, the pivot looks like a sensible place to come out. My initial thing was that I was going to come out at the same price that I got in at, but actually it wouldn't be wise. Now, my whole philosophy is first contact. So I want to come out at first contact, and I think this will be contacted. It's just my point of view. You can close a trade here and come out at break even, but I think that the daily pivot and weekly pivot are strong levels. As I say, I don't see the market. I think the market is weak today, but it's not heavy. So I think it's got a good chance of seeing those particular levels. So just a quick update that there's the take profit level. It's around about 7 pips away from where we are now. And this one will close in profit if it gets there. And this one will close slightly down, but overall aggregate will give us a profitable day. So just that to update you on, mate.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent exit point, if you like, because those pivots you would imagine would be retested at some stage.
Yeah, not only retested, but potentially rejected as well. So it wouldn't be sensible to try and hold beyond them. Yep,
ABC.
Yes, yeah. So we'll see if it gets there, mate. See if we get the opportunity. And we are closed. We are closing in on the top of the hour. So it's going to be one of those. It'll either test it by the top of the hour as people try and shape that hourly bar, or it will be within the first 5-10 minutes of the next hour. If it's not after that, then it might change the way that I trade it, depending on whether I'm at break even. If I'm at break even 15 minutes after the hour and it hasn't taken me out, I might well close the trade at that point. So timing is an issue as well here. The way that I will time the trades is also a factor. But that's the current plan. But hopefully we'll get taken out. Looks like it's got a good shout. It's got about 3 pips to go before it potentially triggers us out here. So let's see if it can pop up. I don't know if you want to watch this live necessarily, because it could take another. There for a sec. Why not? It could take another 20 minutes, mate. You just don't know.
No, I won't. 20 seconds. I can see it happening.
Yeah, three pips isn't much to grab. But let's see if it can just have that last little push. And I'll tell you one thing I am trying to do this year. Now, we always try and sort of like think about what we're going to do differently this year. And one thing I'm trying to do this year is leave my levels where they are. So rather than manually going in now and closing this trade and go, that's close enough, I'm trying to go, that was my plan. And I'm going to stick to it because, I don't know how much
I say good luck with that. That's going to require a strong mental adjustment.
Oh, it really is, mate. Yeah, because it's not my way at all. My way at all is to sort of like see things going and accept, that'll do. But I'm trying to change that because what I've done differently this year is change my journal to rather than being retrospective, being more of a planning in journal, planning the trade in. Rather than sort of like, noting down what happened with the trade. to try and learn from that. So so I am actually changing the way that I record as well.
Interesting. I must, no, I won't even talk about journals. I think they're excellent things. It's the same every year, right? For me.
Yeah.
That's my New Year's resolution. And by the end of the month, it becomes my New Year's resignation.
yeah. I know, it's terrible, isn't it? You know, that actually, the more experienced you become, the more likely you are just to kind of do your thing and not note it down. But I see that as a potential way that I can squeeze a bit more out the market, which is why that I'm, you know, this is why I'm taking this approach of planning a planning journal rather than a retrospective journal.
Cool. I like it. Come on, get up there, you little thing.
It's the same, mate. It could take 20 minutes. It's got 2 pips to go. 2 pips to go, and it'd be one of those that just decides it's going to turn around. But you know, by hook or by crook, I'm going to leave this trade on, because that is, as I say, that's my New Year's resolution. That's what I'm going to try and focus on.
That's part of the new MO. Okay.
Oh, got it. It's got to be done. I mean, you know, as I say, I think I end up leaving so much money on the table that that it's one of those that I've got to start right. It's got to start the first trade of this particular session. I've got to start it right. So it's got another. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. So first trade of the show of the year, mate. We are in the money.
Happy days, the way it should be, of course.
Yes.
All right, I'll continue for a few minutes. And look, I'm pretty pissed. Not one person has put a New Year's resolution in the chat box. Come on, guys. Don't tell me that you didn't have a New Year's resolution that said either make more money, start a journal, again, lose weight, get off the piss, stop smoking, you know, all those sorts of things. Got to be something in there. Give us a little bit of heads up whilst I finish what I was doing. And there's not too much to go, I can promise. Righto, there goes Ash's first winner for the year. Awesome. I was starting to talk about pound Aussie. Now, pound Aussie only again because it's at an inflection point. And those of you who don't know what I mean by that.
Paul's saying he's going to watch our show more often. That's his New Year's resolution. I like that one.
Awesome.
I've got to change my name and I can't find how you do it. There we go.
So here's the inflection point. We've got a strong recent horizontal level sitting there, or there, you know, it's a cloud of a price, obviously. We've got a break of a trend line. And now's the time to start paying attention, because to my mind, only a couple of things are going to happen here. One is we're going to challenge this high, or the other is we're going to come off this resistance level back underneath this trend line and go short, maybe to, or probably to, in my humble opinion, the bottom of that range, or in this case, the next potential horizontal level. Now that's 500 pips away because I'm on a weekly chart here. So if that can actually play out and we can pick it up on, say, a daily chart, which would be pretty simple if we got consolidate as we are at the moment, skip back underneath that level, underneath the weekly pivot, and retested it. And by that time, the daily pivot will be probably down there as well. So it'll be a strong area of support, of resistance. That's what I'll be looking for in the next few days. So this may take till Thursday to pan out. If it does, and it may not, it may go long, but this is what I need to look for. These potential reversals, George was talking about them earlier. This is how they, in my opinion, are pretty easy to play. If you're at that point in your in the chart, rather, where you think, okay, this is now at a very, very strong resistance level. My bias puts me to the downside and there's 500 pips available. Then we squeeze down and work out how to do it. False break, weekly chart. False break, daily chart. Under here, retest it. If that happens, you're probably going to get in here for something like, I don't know, 50 pips, 30, 40 pips maybe. That's going to be your cost of trading, and your reward is potentially 8, 10 to 1. So that's why pound Aussie is very, very, very much on my watch list right now. As I said, it could take off, and it doesn't matter if that's the case. But if it finds that that resistance level is too much to hold, too much to get through, and it comes back, then guess what? If it ain't doing that, it's probably doing that. And that's exactly where I'm coming from. Have I been? Calvin, commit to 1 hour a day, 1 hour a daily for FX trading.
That's really good.
I'm not. You have committed. That's your New Year's resolution. Awesome.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that, Calvin? Are you going to do that from a trading daily charts point of view? Or are you looking at trading shorter time frames? How are you going to approach that?
And
John,
and
take
these
a
are really
step
good
back.
questions, aren't they, mate? Because actually, what
Absolutely.
you know, this is what I'm trying to do with my planning. You put your action in, and then you put the steps that you need to complete the action, and it's a really kind of cool way to do it. You know, with anything you've got going on in your day, actually, and you can then sort of like put it into how you trade as well. John's saying about thinking about more. Sorry, I missed the top. But take a step back and think about what I'm doing more often, and that's really good too. And I think if
Don't
you
take too many steps back, John, you'll fall over that cliff.
yeah, and you're doing well, John. You're doing well by all accounts.
1 hour.
Yeah.
I like that, Calvin. What I'd like to know just a little bit further, how you plan to approach that. I mean, you don't have to have that plan set right now, but probably a good idea that we do have a plan from this point. As George was saying before, now is an excellent time to reset, and whatever you feel was missing from last year, maybe it's a good time to go, okay, well, here's the direction I need to go in, whatever that may be. And everyone's going to be different, of course. What were we talking about? Something? Pound CAD.
Pound CAD.
That was my next one. That's what we're about to talk about. Now, pound CAD is not dissimilar to pound Aussie for clear reasons. It's a currency versus risk on currencies and commodity currencies. I see this again as a potential short, but I'm not as convinced that this is as good as pound Aussie, which is interesting because I've got a lot of time for the CAD. I think the CAD's in a pretty strong position. But then I see this. Is it out of context? Maybe it is a little bit out of context. And what I'm talking about here is a tweezer top. Now, a tweezer top, I like to see at the top of something, clearly. But the thing that draws me to it is that we've come off the bottom of this range. Yes, I get that, which means to me, I'd be probably looking for the top of this range. Let me put that range in. So we're in here somewhere, which really means I'm looking for a long. But here's the thing. To get long, I would have to get it off a support level. Now that support level looks pretty good in the monthly pivot zone in here somewhere. So this little tweezer top here is suggesting to me, or it's not a little one, it's a big one, that we're going to go to monthly pivot. And that's where I'd be looking to trade it long. Question is, can I take advantage of that signal to get a trade into the monthly pivot and then look to trade it to the top of the range? Of course I can. I just need to have the right scenario, right setup. At the moment, I'd have to say I don't. But if we get back underneath these pivots with something of a lower high, then that becomes interesting. In particular, if we have some, let's say, short-term trend lines, for instance. At the moment, there would be one coming through here. We have bounced off the pivots already. I think I'd rather see that happen again, to be honest. I don't see anything here that's clear right now, and I won't preempt what should occur because I've got no idea what happens next. But if we do, there's the best case scenario. I'll give you the best case scenario. the best case scenario for me is that price gets back up to here, hits this trend line, gets back underneath the pivots and the trend line and retests it from below. Then I can look to trade it short, down only to the monthly pivot, mind you, and then I'd be looking to play it in the opposite direction. I think that's worth watching if you get that opportunity to trade it down to there and then turn and flip, as Ash says, and go in the opposite direction. But I think my favorite one for the week, and I had an order on this, as you can see, is expired on Friday morning. I think I saw this on a 4-hour chart. Very, very clear false break of this trend line or trade line. It's not a trend line. And it had already come off the monthly pivot, got back above the daily, retested not only the daily pivot, but the top side of that trade line. Clear false break there, entry there, stop loss there. Trade expired before it triggered. And it's only triggered today by the look of it. If it did trigger, but it expired on me. So I think this is a good one to follow up to these highs. And I think that's my favorite play of the week at this point. That's probably a level there. So I'm looking to get it up to here. Again, has to be on smaller time frames because that trade's already gone. But I'll be watching this one closely. Weekly pivot test would be nice. So something on a smaller time frame. Don't like that bar too much. Yeah, it's a bit messy at the moment, but the general thought process is that we're going to go from this vicinity up to there, and that's what I'll be looking for. It may have to come as a break of resistance. I don't like that trade. I'd much prefer to see it down here somewhere. Again, same thing applies. Break the support, turn that into a false break of support, and then look to trade it more. So yeah, a lot of things on my mind there, Ash, in terms of potential opportunities. What have we got? CAD is pretty much oil related. Oil is on a strong move recently. Not sure, is pound going to be stronger than CAD? Oh, sorry, going short pound. Yeah. Look, as I said from the outset, I have to catch up on all of that stuff, Lewis, because I've just switched off over the past 3 weeks. I have no idea what's strong and what's not, frankly.
I tell you what, mate.
Yep.
You know, the UK is in a bit of trouble. You know, we were talking about the euro earlier on, the euro pound. Boris Johnson is under huge pressure to the point that he may well be ousted by Rishi Sunak. Now, I'm not saying that's imminent, but he's under a lot of pressure from his own party, and also the Labour Party.
He's been under a lot of pressure from everyone else, but now
he has, because the thing is, he's under pressure from his own party, but he's under huge pressure from the opposition as well. You know, Keir Starmer is really starting to build some momentum. Elections are a few years away, but no party wants to be down in the polls going into election, even if it is a couple of years away. So I think he may well be replaced this year. Now, I don't know when, and I don't know, as I say, how imminent it is. But and it might be that we clear out all this stuff before it happens. But I don't think Boris Johnson is going to be the Prime Minister by the end of 2022. So that in itself will drive the pound lower.
You would think so.
Oh yeah, because there's uncertainty. You know, we're back to that kind of uncertain sort of period. So because it won't be a clean transition between one to the other, there will be a voting system going on and everything else. And Boris Johnson is notorious for just coming out and saying something really random. And I wouldn't be surprised if he randomly says, "I'm standing back," you know, I'm stepping out of the position. So it literally could be a knee-jerk thing. I don't think we should be trading to that. I think we need to wait for the information, but pressure is building, and I think that point is worth making.
I'm not sure I'm not going to trade with that in mind, to be honest.
It's early, mate. It's early. You know, I mean, we're just sort of like starting in January. You know, I think it's going to happen, but as I said, you know, he is a cat with more than 9 lives, and he may well even survive this one for a period. So it could push it back to kind of the second quarter. You just don't know. But I do think the pound is in difficult waters right now. You know, the financial situation in the UK is poor, and taxes are going to be raised. Definitely wages are going to have to get raised, because now we've got to pay all this stimulus off. All that support that's been paid has got to be paid off. Same will happen in Europe and the States at some point, probably.
Well, everywhere. I mean, that's not a unique thing, I suppose. But
no, and will it be done through taxes? Will it be done through changing to CBDCs? There's lots of different routes they could take, but it's going to be a tough year, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a really tough year for the stock market. In general.
The thing is, I guess with the pound, it won't be through a flourish of orders for resources, will
it? As in, because we don't have any.
Yeah.
Exactly. And because of energy costs, there's a lot of pressure on the government to start moving faster towards a self-sufficient nation, where we do actually sort of utilize wind power and hydrogen and things like that. But that's going to take a little while to kind of kick in. As I say, mate, I think it's going to be a tough year, and we haven't really kind of covered what we've been talking about for such a long time, which is the high level of printing that has gone on, which has created this inflationary environment, and yet the lack of tools that they appear to have to control it. I think, as I say, it's going to be a tough old time. And if anybody isn't into trading right now, I think, or into investing right now, they could be heading for a really difficult period. Because we can utilize it, right? We can say, okay, well, that's going to happen, no problem. We'll hedge out the risk of that by selling the stock market, as an example, or buying silver, or buying gold, or buying Bitcoin, which incidentally I'm starting to love again. That these cryptocurrencies are becoming unloved, so by default I start to love them again. So I'm quite keen to reinvest some money into cryptos.
Happy days. I guess that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got all the New Year's resolutions. And Paul P, I agree with you. The one thing Boris Johnson needs, and I shouldn't throw stones in because I live in a glass house, he still needs a mirror. There's no question about that.
Oh, mate, don't make no mistake. The man has got a mirror. That is all planned. I saw footage of him in makeup, having really tidy hair. And then just before he got onto camera, he
went
yeah.
Well, if nothing else, he's been a little bit of a distraction. Should I put it that way?
He likes to be seen as a bit of an Einstein, and also I would highly recommend.
That explains the hair, then, right?
Yes. I would highly recommend the movie Don't Look Up. It kind of covers quite a lot of this stuff in a very, very humorous way.
Okay, what's it called?
Don't Look Up. It's got DiCaprio. It's got not Glenn Close. Can't remember the other lady's name now.
While you're trying to think of that, am I the only person on the planet who hasn't heard the song "Cows with Guns"? Have you heard that?
I haven't heard it either, mate. I will listen to it now, though.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Would highly recommend. That's my recommendation for the week.
Okay.
Listen to "Cows with Guns."
Sounds good.
No, you got to listen to it. Well, okay, that's awesome. Maybe I've discovered something that'll make your week a little bit brighter.
You're ahead of us. Cows with Guns. I'm putting it in.
There you go. Australia opens up before anything else. Oh, sorry, Paul's still in the room. New Zealand, of course, opens up first. We're out of here, right? Yes,
good stuff, mate. Great session. I will see you Thursday. Thanks as always for being my trading buddy. Thanks for the guys in the room. Good session, as I say. Good start to the week. So let's long may it continue, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Happy days. Have a good week and a good year, guys. Look forward to catch up on Thursday. Bye-bye for now.